Here's a sobering fact: only 1% of car owners actually reach 200,000 miles on their original engine and transmission. And it's not because they bought bad cars, it's because of small daily habits that slowly destroy critical components. In this video, I'm going to show you 15 habits you probably do every single day that are cutting your car's life in half. Some of these will genuinely surprise you, especially number 3. And if you stick around to the end, I'll reveal the one habit that mechanics say causes more damage than anything else on this list. Number 15. Resting your hand on the gear shifter. This one sounds harmless, but it's costing automatic transmission owners serious money. When you rest your hand on the shifter while driving, you're applying constant downward pressure on the transmission selector fork. This fork is connected to a collar that sits against the rotating gears. The extra weight from your hand, even just a few ounces, creates friction where there shouldn't be any. Over time, this wears down the selector fork and the collar prematurely. We're talking about components that should last 150,000 miles, wearing out at 80,000. The repair? You're looking at $800 to $1,200 just for the selector mechanism. And if it damages the collar badly enough, you could be facing a full transmission rebuild at $3,000 to $5,000. The fix is simple. Rest your hand on your thigh or the steering wheel instead. Number 14. Ignoring your cabin air filter. Most drivers remember to change their engine air filter, but how many of you have ever replaced your cabin air filter? If you're like 70% of car owners, the answer is never. A clogged cabin air filter restricts airflow to your HVAC system. This forces your blower motor to work harder, which generates excessive heat. When they fail, you're looking at $300 to $600 for the part and labor. But it gets worse. The restricted airflow also puts strain on your AC compressor. If that goes out, you're staring down a $1,200 to $1,800 repair bill, all because you didn't spend $15 and 10 minutes replacing a filter once a year. Number 13. Using your parking brake as an afterthought. Here's a habit that ruins both manual and automatic transmissions. You come to a stop, shift into park, turn off the car, and then engage the parking brake. Seems logical, right? Actually, you're doing it backwards. When you shift into park before setting the parking brake, all the weight of your car rests on the transmission's parking pawl. This is a tiny metal pin about the size of your pinky finger, and it's trying to hold 3,000 to 5,000 pounds on an incline. The correct sequence is this. Come to a complete stop, keep your foot on the brake, shift to neutral, engage the parking brake fully, then shift into park. This way, the parking brake holds the weight, and the parking pawl is just a backup. If you've been parking wrong for years, the pawl might already be damaged. Getting it replaced starts at $1,500 and goes up from there. Number 12. Driving with a nearly empty tank. Running your gas tank down to the warning light seems like no big deal. Wrong. This habit is killing your fuel pump. Your fuel pump sits inside the gas tank, and it relies on being submerged in gasoline to stay cool. When you regularly drive with less than a quarter tank, the pump is exposed to air and runs hotter than it should. A fuel pump that should last 150,000 miles might fail at 70,000. Because of this habit, replacing one costs between $400 and $800, and if it fails while you're driving, you could get stranded. There's another problem. The bottom of your gas tank collects sediment and debris over time. When your tank is low, the fuel pump sucks up all that junk and sends it through your fuel system. This clogs your fuel filter faster and can damage the injectors. Keep your tank above a quarter full. Number 11. Accelerating hard when the engine is cold. This is probably the most common habit that destroys engines, and almost everyone does it. You start your car, back out of the driveway, and immediately accelerate hard to merge into traffic. Here's the problem. When your engine is cold, the oil is thick and hasn't fully circulated through all the passages yet. The pistons, rings, and cylinder walls are also still expanding to their normal operating size. When you floor it during this critical warm-up period, you're creating metal-on-metal contact that scores the cylinder walls. You won't notice it immediately, but by 80,000 miles, you'll be burning oil and losing compression. A top-end engine rebuild to fix this damage runs $2,500 to $4,000. Drive gently for the first 5 minutes or until the temperature gauge reaches its normal position. Keep the RPMs under 3,000 and your engine will last much longer. Number 10. Overlooking wheel bearing maintenance. Here's something most DIY mechanics completely forget about. Wheel bearings. These components carry the entire weight of your car and handle massive forces every time you turn or hit a bump. Yet most people never think about them until they hear grinding noises. By the time you hear the grinding, significant damage has already occurred. The bearing races are scored, and metal shavings are contaminating the grease. One wheel bearing costs $150 to $350 to replace. But if you wait too long and it damages the hub, you're looking at $600 to $900 per wheel. And if the bearing seizes while driving, you could lose control completely. Pay attention to any humming that gets louder with speed or changes pitch when turning. Number 9. Shifting into park while still moving. This habit makes transmission shops very wealthy. You're pulling into a parking spot and you shift into park while the car is still rolling forward at 1 or 2 miles per hour. The harm is that you're forcing the parking pal to stop a moving vehicle. That pal is designed to hold a stationary car, not act as a brake. Every time you do this, you're hammering that small metal pin with tremendous force. Do this enough times, and the pal will either break completely or wear down so much that your car can roll even when in park. I've seen cars roll down driveways and into streets because the owner destroyed the parking pal with this habit. The fix costs $1,500 to $2,500. Always come to a full stop. Let the car settle for 1 full second, then shift into park. Number 8. Using cruise control in the rain. Cruise control is great for highway driving, but using it in wet conditions is dangerous and can damage your car. When you hit a patch of standing water at highway speed, your tires can hydroplane. If you're controlling the throttle manually, you'll instinctively lift off the gas when you feel the car lose traction. But with cruise control engaged, the system will actually add throttle to maintain your set speed. This makes the hydroplaning worse and increases the chance of spinning out. Even if you don't crash, the sudden loss and regain of traction puts enormous stress on your drivetrain components. The CV joints, axles, and differential all experience shock loads they weren't designed to handle repeatedly. A CV joint replacement costs $300 to $600 per side. A damaged differential can run $1,500 to $3,000 to repair. Turn off cruise control anytime the road is wet. Number 7. Delaying coolant system maintenance. Coolant is one of those fluids that everyone knows about, but nobody actually changes on schedule. The manufacturer says 100,000 miles or 10 years, so people just forget about it. But here's what you need to understand. Coolant doesn't just prevent freezing and overheating. It also contains corrosion inhibitors that protect your engine's internal passages. After about 60,000 miles, those corrosion inhibitors break down. Your coolant becomes acidic and starts eating away at gaskets, hoses, and even metal components. The water pump impeller corrodes. The heater core develops pinhole leaks. The radiator starts weeping from the seams. A coolant flush costs $100 to $150. But if you skip it and end up with a corroded water pump, radiator, and heater core all failing within a few months of each other, you're looking at $1,200 to $2,000 in repairs. Change your coolant every 60,000 miles or 5 years, whichever comes first. Number 6. Riding the clutch in traffic. For those of you with manual transmissions, this one's for you. Sitting in traffic with your foot resting on the clutch pedal feels natural. The clutch is slightly engaged, and you're ready to move at any moment. But this habit destroys clutches faster than anything else. When your foot is on the pedal, even with light pressure, you're forcing the clutch disc to slip against the flywheel and pressure plate. This generates heat and wears down the friction material. A clutch that should last 80,000 to 100,000 miles might only make it to 40,000 if you ride it constantly. A clutch replacement costs $800 to $1,500 for most cars, and if the damaged clutch overheats the flywheel, you'll need to resurface or replace that too, adding another $200 to $400. In stop-and-go traffic, shift into neutral and take your foot completely off the clutch. Number 5. Ignoring tire rotations. Tire rotation sounds like optional maintenance, but skipping it costs you in multiple ways. Tires wear unevenly based on their position. Front tires wear faster on the outer edges from turning forces. If you never rotate them, the front tires will be bald, while the rears still have decent tread. This forces you to replace all 4 tires instead of getting maximum life from each one. 4 tires cost $600 to $1,000, depending on the brand. Proper rotation every 6,000 to 8,000 miles can extend your tire life by 15,000 to 20,000 miles. But there's a bigger issue. Uneven tire wear affects your suspension geometry. When your front tires are significantly more worn than the rears, it changes how weight transfers during braking and cornering. This puts extra stress on ball joints, tie rods, and control arm bushings. These suspension components wear out faster, leading to repairs that cost $400 to $800 per corner. Number 4. Using the wrong octane fuel religiously. There are 2 camps of people making this mistake. The first group puts regular 87 octane in a car that requires premium. They figure they're saving 40 cents per gallon, and the engine seems to run fine. The second group puts premium in everything, thinking it's better for the engine even when the manual says regular is fine. Both habits waste money and can cause damage. If your car requires premium and you use regular, the engine will experience knock and pre-ignition. Modern engines have knock sensors that retard timing to prevent damage, but this costs you power and fuel economy. Over time, repeated knock events can damage pistons and valves. We're talking $2,000 to $4,000 in engine repairs. On the flip side, if your car is designed for regular and you use premium, you're just throwing away money. You're spending an extra $300 to $500 per year for zero benefit. Check your owner's manual and follow the instructions. Number 3. Never exercising your parking brake. Here's a habit that sneaks up on people who live in flat areas. You never use your parking brake because you don't park on hills. Seems logical, but this causes a problem most people don't know about parking brake cables, and mechanisms seize up from lack of use. Rust and corrosion build up on the cables. The brake shoes or pads stick to the drums or rotors. Then one day, you actually need the parking brake, and it doesn't work at all. Or worse, it engages but won't release. Replacing seized parking brake cables costs $200 to $400 per side. If the calipers or drums are also damaged, add another $300 to $600. Use your parking brake every time you park, even on flat ground. This keeps the cables moving freely and prevents corrosion. Number 2. Topping off fluids without investigating why they're low. Your oil is half a quart low, so you top it off and forget about it. A month later, it's low again. You add more oil. This goes on for months, and you think you're being responsible by checking and maintaining your fluids. Actually, you're ignoring a warning sign that could save you thousands. Fluids don't just disappear. If your oil is consistently low, you have a leak or you're burning it. If your coolant drops, you have a leak in the cooling system. By constantly topping off without finding the root cause, you're letting problems get worse. A small oil leak becomes a major one. A weeping water pump turns into a sudden failure. I've seen people lose entire engines because they kept adding oil without realizing they had a failing head gasket. The repair that would have cost $1,500 early on turned into a $6,000 engine replacement. Anytime a fluid drops more than a quarter between normal service intervals, find out why. Number 1. Driving on worn shocks and struts. This is the number one hidden habit that destroys cars before 100,000 miles. Shocks and struts wear out so gradually that most people never notice. The ride gets a little bouncier over the years, and you just adapt to it. But driving on worn shocks creates a domino effect of damage throughout your entire car. When your shocks are worn, your tires bounce instead of staying planted on the road. This causes uneven tire wear, reducing tire life by 30% or more. Your alignment goes out faster because the suspension isn't controlling wheel movement properly. But here's the real damage. Worn shocks let your car's body move around excessively. Every bump sends shock waves through the chassis. These forces damage motor mounts, transmission mounts, and exhaust hangers. Ball joints and tie rod ends wear out twice as fast. Your steering rack takes a beating. The total cost? You'll spend an extra $2,000 to $3,000 over the life of your car on repairs that wouldn't have been necessary with good shocks. A full set of quality shocks or struts costs $400 to $800 installed. Here's how to check yours. Push down hard on each corner of your car and release. If the car bounces more than once, your shocks are done. Replace your shocks and struts every 50,000 to 70,000 miles, even if they seem fine. This single maintenance item will protect your entire car and extend its life well past 100,000 miles. So there you have it. 15 habits that are quietly destroying your car right now. The good news is that every single one of these is preventable. Small changes in how you drive and maintain your car can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars over its lifetime. Which of these habits surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, make sure you're subscribed, because next week I'm covering the 7 warning sounds that mean your car needs immediate attention. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.